Okay, we are back after that little hiccup on Twitch. Thanks for hanging around. We'll now crack on with the second part of the Hangout, where we look at factions. Specifically, we'll be looking at bosses, heroes, and behemoths, as well as the odd monster here and there. Now, in terms of factions, let me talk about factions briefly. For each biome, so for example, grasslands, swamp, snow, lava, and so on, in each biome we'll have two opposing factions, each with their own full storyline and quests. Helping one faction will inevitably put you into opposition with the other faction because you'll probably be doing things that go against them. There'll be an opportunity to actually change factions, so if you don't like the way it's working out with one faction, you'll probably be able to give the you'll be given the opportunity to jump ship and then pursue the other channel of storyline. So it's really up to you how you engage with these two factions. Helping one faction will inevitably unlock their hero, and then you can add that hero into your adventuring party. We obviously can't deliver all of that at once, so what we're doing is we're focusing on the grasslands, specifically the Withering Dead and the Gladefolk. We can start with the first one. What I'm going to do is actually we'll get rid of my ugly mug. Let's do that now. And then I'll just pop that down there. And let's go ahead and we'll move on to the boss of the Withering Dead. So this is Mordic. Mordic is the gatekeeper to the Shadow of the Plains, so it's a different plane. And he's done a deal with a human called Lilith, who summoned him back to the physical plane. And Mordic, times are tight for Mordic. Everybody is living longer after the publication of the bestseller The Tomb of Healthy Living. So there's not many souls entering the plane of shadows right now, so he's decided to pay the bills. He's going to moonlight and he's going to start a cheap sandals factory, and he's using a summoned army of undead skeletons to make them for him. And he is sending harvesting groups, we'll come on to later, into the glade to steal Everbloom, which is a magical plant that contains the energy he needs to power his factory. Right, that's the backstory. So Mordic is the boss, and Mordic's number 2 is Lilith. Now you'll already have seen Lilith, but Lilith is a hero. Heroes, if you fulfill all the quests for that particular faction, heroes become unlocked and become available and will be willing to join your adventuring party. We have each hero has 5 abilities. One is potentially a passive. For Lilith, we've got Raise Dead, so she can actually summon skeletons and potentially zombies to fight for her and do her beckoning. We've got Fear, which is a crowd control system that will send attackers into a cowering, gibbering wreck for so many seconds. We have Soul Reap, so if you are using a lot of power to cast spells, she can actually drain health from an opponent and convert that health into power. We have Torment, which is sort of lost spirits will actually harass and torment and wound the target for inflicting shadow damage. And finally we have Disease Cloud, which is an area effect spell that causes disease in targets, reducing their stats and their combat ability. Bonefinga. So each faction has a behemoth, which is a large monster. Now, his true size, he's scaled down a lot for this presentation, but his actual size is significantly larger than humans. Bonefinga is the spirit of an ancient dragon from the Plane of Shadows, where Mordic's from, that Mordic has bound to the corpse of a recently dead and rotting dragon. So he's got bits of flesh missing and so on. Now, behemoths are when a faction attacks your village, which you'll get notification, like a little a countdown timer, so that you'll be able to prepare. Behemoths are going to be the ones that are probably going to take down your gates. They have a huge amount of health and a huge amount of power, so they're going to be a real challenge to take down. And these are just some of the loot items that you can expect to get from the Withering Dead faction if you're helping the Gladefolk. I'll move on now. All of this information I published to the website a couple of hours ago, so it is available on www.gamesfoundry.com. On the left-hand side, we've added heroes and factions, but stay with us. Don't run off and go and look there just yet. So stay. Zombies. Now, we can't have an undead faction without zombies, can we? So, Mordic is summoning zombies for his harvesting gangs that go and raid the Glade and steal all the Everbloom from the pastures there, which the Gladefolk obviously aren't happy about. We also will be adding a graveyard and death, so when villagers die, your monks will carry the corpses and clean them up before they start getting diseased and spreading disease. And we expect some of these things to come out of the graveyard from time to time. And again, some more of the icons that Jen has been working on that have been in the game for a while. Over to the Gladefolk. Now, the Gladefolk are led by Nara, who's the Earth Mother. Now, the Gladefolk are very much a nature-aligned faction that use restorative magic to heal. They are, I suppose, the closest thing are probably like fairies or elves, or we're not bound by the notion of having a specific race as a faction. So Gladefolk comprise a number of different characters and races, but Nara is essentially like a fairy queen. And again, some of the nice loot items that you can expect to be dropped if you're killing the Gladefolk. Nara, if you're attacking her, then she can charm other characters and with pixie dust and cause them to fight for her. Yeah, so she's the boss. And then the hero of the Glade is Nara's daughter, Willow. Now, this is the first time you'll have seen her. So Willow is a healer. She is a gentle soul who's inherited her restorative magic from her mother, Nara. And she's pretty much told to stay within the confines and protection of the Glade. And now she's sort of grown up. While she's obeying it, she's hating that, and she's travelling every day to the edge of the Glade and looking out at the world beyond, and she's keen to go out and adventure, but only once the chores are done. In terms of abilities, so if you go ahead and help the Gladefolk, then eventually you will unlock Willow, and she is a healer, so she's got a heal ability. She's also got a purify ability, which purges all negative effects from any of your adventuring group. Being aligned with nature, she's able to control thorns and cause thorns to sprout up and actually immobilize enemies and cause damage to them. She's also able to revive heroes. So if any of your heroes fall during battle, if you still win the battle, the plan is that then they will revive and slowly recover their health. Willow can actually do that in battle, so if you need to get somebody up and running quickly, she can revive them from a range. And finally, she has a healing aura. We might replace this with a healing totem. so that anybody that is close to her or the totem, depending on how we implement it, will receive a small amount of health back each every sort of second or couple of seconds, something like that. Moving on, we've got Musk Law. You may previously have known him as the Swamp Beast, but Musk Law is the protector of the Everbloom pastures, which are the fields where the Everbloom grows, which is the magic. They contain a magic energy that Mordic is after, and he's using the Everbloom to power all his machines in his factory. He's sending in the zombie harvesting gangs, and they're just leaving rot and decay everywhere. Nara has set about an action plan with the help of her daughter Willow that will see Willow go into the underworld. She'll have her soul challenged, and she's got to remain pure. This is what we're going to write. Obviously, communities can write whatever the hell you like. You can come up with entirely new storylines and implement them using Workbench. This is just what we're doing for the world that we'll be shipping with the game. So this will be like the first playable experience that players will get to play. So Musk Law is immortal, so you can't actually kill him. You can immobilize him, but over time he will slowly regenerate and he'll come back. And that's the same for all of the behemoths. And finally, this is not really factions. We also have neutral characters that you can meet in the world. So they're not aligned to either the Gladefolk or the Withering Dead. So they are likely to be characters that you will meet just outside your village. So as you get to a certain size and you start exploring, then you will meet heroes. They will have their own agendas and their own storylines, where you'll get to know them, get to understand their persona. And if you help them, you'll be able to add them into your adventuring party. There'll be some of like the early heroes that you get control of, so that once you've got an adventuring party together, you can go off and help the Gladefolk or the Withering Dead and explore their storylines. So that's where we've got to so far. More work is being done right now, so we're actually working on the characters for the goblins and fleshing those out. I don't want to talk about those at this point because we'll do every so often we'll do a session like this and reveal the characters that we've got. There are some other characters available in here. So for the Gladefolk, we've actually got the wood imps, which was shared in a blog quite a while ago, and we'll continue to expand on the creatures within a faction as time permits. But at the moment, we've sort of got to we've got everything that we need to be able to write the storyline for Gladefolk and the Withering Dead. Work is starting on the goblins, which is the medium difficulty map, and obviously Toadkin will do that, and then we'll move on to the snow. So the plan is to continue rolling. Now, factions. The reason why I'm revealing this now is because we are going to do crowdsourced voice acting for all of these. So I wanted to share the visuals of all of these heroes and monsters, because we're going to go out to the voice acting community and we will be inviting people to audition to become the voices of these characters, and you'll get the successful applicants will get a full credit on our IMDb page, and hopefully provide a nice little step up for them in terms of their career to break into the industry. So that is something that I will be publishing soon. As I mentioned, we've updated the website. So if you go, I'll just make this view a little bit bigger so I can see what I'm doing. So if we go, we've added 2 new sections. So we've now got factions. So if we drop down here, and I should be able to look and read the backstories. In fact, why don't I move that over here? Got a question. What about the goblins and the beastmen on the grasslands map? So the grasslands map is, well, all of the maps really are going to evolve as more content becomes available. The easy map will probably be removing the goblins and the well, the beastmen may stay, so they may well become aligned with the Gladefolk. I've yet to decide that. We may give them a slight colour tweak to make them fit. As you can see, that each faction has a colour scheme, so it's very easy visually to recognise who belongs to which faction. So we've got the Withering Dead, we've got Lilith and Bonefinga. Excuse me. So it may be that with the Beastmen we just give them another refresh paint and make them more aligned with the Gladefolk, so they're a little bit more of a stronger monster. I also want to add Spriggan in as somebody for the Gladefolk, but we've got to be careful not to spend too much time on any one faction. We've got to get through. You know, there's a lot of factions planned. We've got to get through them all and crack on with writing the story and get on with that. And then, once we've got the sort of the core character set, we'll go back and we'll start fleshing out some more monsters and characters to add a bit more rich content to support the storyline. Okay, so also go back to the game, guys. That was factions. We've also got individual pages for our heroes. So at the moment we've got 3. We'll be adding more heroes and more factions in time. I can actually click on these and have a look at each of the abilities. Now, abilities can be leveled up 4 times. So there are 5 abilities with 4 levels each, giving a natural maximum level of level 20 for your heroes. It'll take you quite a while. Several hours to get that far within the game if you want to unlock all of the abilities. But yeah, do go in and check those out and familiarise yourself. We haven't balanced, these are just initial figures that are in at the moment, so we'll be balancing those as we implement into the game. Now that Workbench is reaching a pretty decent state, the reason why we did that is so that we can implement a tutorial into Sandbox. As you know, we retired the original tutorial. There was a lot of hoo-ha about sort of going over to Sandbox and no longer having campaign. This has been the point that I've been wanting to get for months, because it means I can show you guys and those that are questioning the decision that Sandbox and campaign are not mutually exclusive. So campaign can quite happily sit within a Sandbox game, and players can dip in and out of that as they feel fit, as they see fit, and as they want to pace the game. With Workbench, what we're doing is building on the editor and the ability for community members to create their own worlds. We're now empowering with the tools to actually script that world and to give a meaningful. It gives the flavour, if you like, to the world. It gives you the quests, the content, the context, the purpose, and that's really what's missing at the moment in the Sandbox, is that feel of that we had in the original Sandbox. Sorry, in the original tutorial, and that's what we're addressing now. The team are working on all of the RPG content, the script writing. We'll be doing the voice acting. Yeah, so all of that sort of feel that you missed from the old tutorial, just as it's always been planned, is now coming back. So you can look forward to that in the coming months. But yeah, the purpose why we've done the work now on Workbench is so that we can do a tutorial for Sandbox, because there's nothing to hold new players' hands as they get started. And that, I think, is what the new map is temporarily going to become. It's going to be what the easy map is going to become. It's going to be that first gentle ease into the experience that's going to hold players' hands. Once they've learnt the mechanics, they're then going to move on to the medium and the difficult maps. Okay. We've also added in more items as well. So I don't know if you're aware, but you can now sort of filter by material. So leather, we've got in. We've actually got our first epic items are starting to appear. So this is some of the epic Gladefolk items. We've got some epic Withering Dead items, so shadow belts and so on. Weapons. Weapons, we're getting there. They're all being worked on. They will start appearing in the game. We took the decision, if we remember, to show weapons on characters so you can swap out the weapons and it'll actually show on the character what's currently equipped. So that means that we actually need to model all of the weapons for all of the factions. So we've actually worked in a slightly weird order in that we've done weapons for the Werfu monks. We're now working on weapons for the Withering Dead and also for the Gladefolk, so that all of that content is ready and we can focus on getting a good chunk of playable RPG content for all of those players that have been waiting patiently for us to develop that side of the game. So much like we focused on city building or village building, economy and the RTS controls, it's now time. We're still doing the odd bit of work on that. So for example, we'll be enabling building upgrades as well as taking into account all the feedback that you guys have been giving us. That's still ongoing. We'll have building upgrades enabled, and then we'll also be delivering, as I say, the first slab of the RPG content. So heroes, hero abilities, all the visual effects, the sound effects, the voice acting, the quests, the loot items, the weapons, it's all parceled together, and right now we're just focusing on one area, which is the grasslands and the Gladefolk and the Withering Dead. I hope that makes sense. Replanting trees, yes, the plan is to include that in the next patch. We obviously have a bit of a gameplay issue at the moment where you run out of trees and you haven't got a sustainable source of wood. So that is the #1 priority in relation to the village building aspect that we'll be addressing. We've got a number of other changes. If I just go ahead and pull up the patch notes, I can just have a quick look at those and run through some of the changes that we've made already. So in terms of what could be working in, so we have finally fixed. So building upgrades we are hoping to add in, what do we mean, towards the end of April. So we're going to be testing all through April and try and make sure that those are workable. So expect to be able to play those at the end, well, start of May, say. End of April, start of May. So some of the things we've sorted out a queue for the advisor, so you'll notice that he now won't say multiple things at the same time. We've extended and sorted out the day-night cycle, so it's no longer like daytime, oh, it's nighttime. So that's now, the day and night periods are longer and there's a smoother transition between them. We have removed food rations from the wagon, so foraging is now important early on. This is quite an important one. So goods are now only removed from inventory when villagers arrive at the point of transfer, rather than removing them before they set off. So if you play the game at the moment, you might notice, for example, see a peasant standing outside a windmill and it'll suddenly say -80 firewood. And then he'll go off and walk to either the woodcutter's hut, well, say the woodcutter's hut, and collect the firewood. The reason for that was it was just a reservation system. That's all changed now. So the character will actually walk to the woodcutter's hut or the storehouse or the wagon, whichever is closer. So that's another change that we've made. And then actually remove the goods from your inventory. In terms of the inventory and what that shows, we've also tweaked that because there was some confusion over inventory that was stored in buildings or in transit or in your inventory. That is now one consistent view now. So if it says you have got 100 firewood in your inventory, it could be spread between various woodcutters' huts or it could be in transit. If your pilfering peasants have stolen it and they're going to go and burn it in a cottage to keep warm and you want to craft something, you can steal it off them and you can still craft the things that you want at the blacksmiths. It will deduct what you use from the pile that they're carrying, and that's quite an important change as well. and it should help with the firewood situation. Character colliders, we have increased the width of those, so selection and targeting of monsters and things like that should now be easier. Bakery, butchery, windmill and fishing hut now transfer food to the storehouse, and food is bought from storehouses or the wagon. So I don't believe the reason for that is that if, as your settlement gets bigger, you don't want your villagers spending a lot of time walking back to the bakery or your butchery to get food. They'll just walk to the nearest supply point, so it makes storehouses much more important. So if you are sort of rolling your settlement and developing a new woodcutter hut area, for example, plonk down a storehouse and then the woodcutters will go and get food from there. Streamerboat's asking, do villagers keep some food or whatever else they may need in their personal inventories now, as you mentioned you'd want to implement? Yeah, I think that was a good idea. It's still on our list. We're going to see how this change feels. It may not be needed, but if it is, that's definitely something we'll consider. So that they basically take more than they need and keep it in their supply. So it means that they have to go and get food less often. Moving on. Okay, so working peasants can now return resources to any appropriate building. So, for example, if you send some peasants to chop down wood, they'll return it to either the wagon or the woodcutter hut or the storehouse, whichever's closer. The need for protein and vegetables starts when culture score passes 30, so that you're not bombarded with various needs right from the word go. So while you're still finding your feet as a new player, we've just sort of softened that. We've introduced the need for firewood when culture passes 35, which is enough to build a woodcutter hut and a cottage. So firewood, the need for warmth is very much dependent on the cottage. It didn't really make enough sense to say that they needed firewood without a cottage, so we've made it so that that is now more likely. Bug fixes, we've fixed the small ore and stone resources not giving the correct amount of output. So if you chose a woodcutter and manually sent them to harvest a tree, chop down a tree, they would end up only getting like 5 firewood and 5 planks, whereas because they're a trained profession they should be getting way more than that. So that is fixed, and in the editor we've hopefully fixed the bounding box issue. We are just past halfway through March, so we've still got some way to go. We've got a list of bugs that we need to fix. Number 1 being the implementation of the plant sapling ability for woodcutters. We just had to get workbench done and out of the way because there are a number of parallel tasks that I need to be getting on. So now that that is done, we can get on to adding in plant sapling. Apparently there's a small correction to what I've said. The peasants returning logs will return them to the storehouse or the wagon if they exist. Only if they do not exist, they will return it to the woodcutter's hut. Alright, so by default they'll return it as a priority, it looks, to the storehouse and wagon. Allwood is asking about the inventory overhaul. That is now done. Was it something specific that you were asking about? Griswood Dogs, how will strength of enemies work? They are... How will the strength of enemies work? They are so less good when you gain power. Oh, right, okay. I think we're likely to go into sort of a auto-balancing approach. Let's take a dungeon, for example. So if the average level of your adventuring party is level 3, when you go into a dungeon, we're basically going to scale that dungeon and freeze it at level 3. so that you can go in. If it's too tough for you, you can come out. You can go and do some other quests, and then you'll be able to go in. It will still be ranked level 3. We'll probably set a dungeon and say, right, this dungeon is level 3 to 6. And if it's towards the top end, then we'll scale the monsters and make them tougher. I think loot is also going to have to change, and I think we're going to have to go and dynamically create loot. That is looking likely, and I think we're going to adopt a sort of like lesser acts of frost or wolfsbane or something like that, and scale them up that way and make the effects stronger depending on your level again. So if again your adventuring party is level 2, then the loot that gets generated, it's first of all it's going to be appropriate to the characters in your party, so you can actually make use of the loot, and secondly it's going to scale it up, so a average level of 2 or 3 party is going to get crappier loot than say a level 18, 19 party, which is going to get a lot more sort of epic gear with much better stats. And I think that's the way that we're going to have to go, especially to accommodate community crafted worlds, and the fact that you will be able to go wherever you like potentially. Streamer I was asking, have you thought about my suggestion to make it possible to micromanaging how much of an individual product is made, rather than just enabling and disabling production and building that produces more than one? Similar to, oh right, okay, yeah. So it's, I understand what you're saying. So it's the ability to sort of drag a slider. Yes, we have thought about it. It is something that we'd like to add. It makes a lot of sense. Okay. Is there anything in particular you guys want me to cover? Because I think that's a good point to wrap up the stream. So today's stream is in 2 parts. We were, well, everybody was taken offline due to a temporary downtime from Twitch. It didn't last long, but if you are watching, make sure you watch part 1, which is the workbench, the visual modding tool, and then part 2, which is this one, which is going into factions, heroes, bosses, and behemoths. So yeah. All right. Well, thanks very much for joining us, and thanks for your patience during the interval. I hope you got a little pot of ice cream, and we will see you next week. So have a great Wednesday, or whatever day it is if you're watching this over on YouTube, on youtube.com/GameFoundry. Streamer, if you want to watch them, we will be posting these videos in a blog post, which will hopefully be going out tomorrow. So you'll have ample chance to catch up and go and read it. All right, guys. Have a great week.